Good morning, Husker fans, and welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson with HuskerBigRed.com, and this is Danny Gillette of thegreatcornholio.org. And joining me, and today we are going to talk about some Nebraska football coaching rumors. There's been a bunch of stuff coming up here over the last couple of days, and we'll also look ahead to Minnesota. Looks like Casey Thompson possibly could play. He practiced it this week, so his status is kind of up in the air. And Danny, we'll just start with all this crazy stuff. There was kind of some rumors going around yesterday, nothing really specific, but a lot of people started wondering, what's happening, what's going on. There was, a few Twitter accounts that boldly predicted that Mickey Joseph was going to be the next head coach, that a hire was coming yesterday afternoon. So, we've talked about it a little bit off air, but man, what do you make of all these rumors? Are you expecting, Mickey Joseph to be announced soon, or what do you think about all this?
I wasn't expecting it to be announced yesterday. I thought that would be a little too soon. However, just looking at this rumor from a point of view of announcing it before the season ends, I could see something like that happening because it would help out with recruiting. It would obviously be early enough before the transfer portal opened in the first week of December. And it would also give current players on the roster, the chance to decide whether they want to come back for those who have the option to do so. I thought yesterday would have been a little too premature, but, I wouldn't be surprised if something, it just wouldn't surprise me if something was, kind of mentioned during the final stretch here. However, my personal opinion is that we won't hear about anything until, I'm going to say at the earliest, a couple days before the Iowa game. And so, I just don't see it happening until the end of the season. But you never know. College sports is a crazy world. Things move fast, and, I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, it was interesting because I'm not really even sure when I caught wind of it. I just was doing my normal scouring of Twitter and Husker Online. I Husker 24/7. Those are kind of my main sources. Like I said, I'm a big follower of Sip, Callahan, and Christopherson. Those are my three guys. Those are my three guys I follow for Nebraska. Outside of Danny, I read your stuff and obviously my own opinions. But those are kind of the reporters that I've followed. Since I remember Sipple when he was with the Journal Star. And and the funny thing I love about Steve Sipple is, man, if you send him an email, like if you just straight up send him an email, he most of the time, if you're not a psycho, he will email you back. So like that's one thing I've always liked about Steve. Steven is that he's not like a big timer. He just is a guy that knows his stuff, and he'll actually I remember before I even got in the newspaper business, I emailed him and because I really appreciate his stuff. I was like, I really enjoy everything that you write, and I hope to, work, follow in your footsteps someday. And, he wrote me back. And so anyway, I've always really respected him. And, I didn't see a lot from him yesterday. Callahan shut down the rumors pretty quickly too, saying there wasn't the Board of Regents meeting or whatever. I think, Damon Benning, said something about that, but there was talk about, possibly like an executive meeting to, approve money for a head coaching hire, which, wouldn't have to go through the full process of, making it public and all that.
That I could see happening.
Yeah. And, my thought yesterday is I didn't think that if there was going to be an announcement, to me, it wouldn't make any sense for it to be Mickey Joseph at this point. I know that there was the Arizona State stuff last week, but, people said, I know you even had people, message you, saying, my friend heard this from Mickey's close friend and and I understand that, but it's like, people saying that, okay, so if this was a done deal for Mickey, okay, I don't understand why. I mean, if it was a done deal, like after, they beat Rutgers or whoever, I mean, if it was a done deal weeks ago, it would have made sense to announce it. And it definitely would make less sense to announce it after a couple of losses, especially kind of an ugly loss to Illinois. I mean, there was a lot of pro Mickey momentum going into that game. And that definitely, he lost some of that momentum, I think, with the way Nebraska played in that game. Not that not that it's a weekly thing. I mean, we see these coaching power rankings and stuff. I mean, it's not like Trev sitting here in his office. We've talked about this before, but being like, oh, Dave Aranda won this week. Let's move him up. Oh, Lane Kiffin, he's not doing that. I mean, it's not like if I don't really think, like, even if Trev was interested in Matt Campbell, I don't think, Iowa State's success or failures this particular season are going to be the ultimate factor. I don't think Matt Campbell's coming here, but I don't. Just Trev Alberts is looking at their entire resume, not 4 or 5 games or whatever. But so with the Arizona State stuff, to me, so if it was a done deal, with Mickey, I don't feel like he would be talking to Arizona State that much. And I also don't feel like it would be leaked out by, and maybe it wasn't leaked out. Maybe Sean Callahan just did a great job reporting and he was able to unearth some things. I don't know. It's hard to really say who gave that information out, whether it was from the Nebraska side or just somebody at Nebraska that had that information. It's not that hard to figure out, if guys take meetings and that type of thing. But it just seems to me that it would be weird timing to name Mickey Joseph. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be him, but outside of Mickey, the only other person that makes sense to me would be like a Matt Rule, who's not coaching, because it's not going to be announced like, oh, Dave Aranda's coming to Nebraska with 3 games left in the season. So it's either, if it is somebody before that Iowa game, and the Iowa game might be late enough where it could be another coach, but if it's something before that week, it either has to be Mickey or it has to be Matt Rule or somebody that we haven't really talked about that much, like a Chris Peterson who's not coaching, or possibly an Urban Meyer. Those are unless it's a guy who's not actively coaching right now, there's not going to be some big announcement. So I don't know why people got so, crazed about it yesterday. I kind of thought it was bullshit from the get-go, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't buy the rumor at all. But like you said, once that Iowa game hits, it's got to be quick, no matter what decision is made. I mean, we've talked about this kind of ad nauseum over the past couple weeks. But I will say, and I'm not saying this definitely guarantees Mickey is staying here or whatever, but Arnold Barnes just committed. Was it this week? It's been a long week. Or was it last week?
Yeah, no, that was this. I think that was Monday. That was Monday. Yep.
So yeah, Arnold Barnes committed, and then Malachi Coleman committed. And, I'm wondering if, something was brought up in those recruiting pitches to where, Mickey kind of reassured them that he was going to be here and whatnot. And I know we've also kind of talked about that, but at the same time, it seems kind of late in the year to commit to a program and then decommit if Mickey leaves in some capacity, for instance. So I wonder if that means he's still going to be here in some capacity, or if this is just 2 really good commitments that may follow Mickey. It just seems the timing of the commitments seems, to lean a certain way to me. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that's what it seems to me.
Yeah, I definitely think there's, I think Mickey's definitely selling that. I think he believes, and he's acting, the entire time, really, he's acted like he's been the head coach, like he will be the head coach. And I think he's done a great job in that aspect of it. He knows how to recruit. And, I think a lot of it is, I think they are 2 different recruitments, because Coleman is the in-state kid, and, Mickey really is the guy that turned things around in that regard. But I think Nebraska was always going to be a factor. Even I know Malachi Coleman said that, Mickey was the only reason Nebraska was in his top 7, but still, I feel like Nebraska was going to, have an impact in that recruitment before it was all said and done. Barnes, I feel like he would have no interest in Nebraska if it wasn't for Mickey.
Right.
So, I feel like like I said, if Mickey goes somewhere else, I definitely think he's probably taking Barnes with him. And there's a good chance he'll take Malachi Coleman too. So, I mean, that is the worry about going to Arizona State. But at this, I think with recruits, they're just, trying to make the best decision that they can. And, I think a lot of them just believe in Mickey Joseph. They just really believe in him. I think Malachi Coleman is one of those. And, William Watson, the 2023 quarterback, commits to trust in Mickey. He tweeted that. Malachi basically said that after the Illinois game, trust the process, trust Mickey Joseph. We're going to turn this thing around. So whatever is going on outside of things, Mickey Joseph, has inspired these kids and let them believe that, like, I'm going to get this head coaching job. And, even if I don't, my plan is to be here, and I think that's probably what all he's saying. He probably, in some ways, Mickey's a very genuine person. Not that I know him. That's what everybody says, though. And I think that Mickey's probably like, hey, I want to be here. My plan is to be here. I'm not 100% sure I'm going to be here, but right now, like face to face, I'm telling you as a recruit, like I want to be at Nebraska. So I think it's part of that vision that he's selling and that, kind of enthusiasm and that growth. But I don't know if he's given them any guarantees. I feel like I feel like he's being honest with them, and I feel like that they'll respect him more for that. So I don't know. It's hard to say.
And you also look at recruits in terms of like Mark Whipple, for instance. He offered Shaba Purdy, I think it was 2 days before he signed on with Nebraska.
Something like that. Yeah,
And
it
then
was
he
very close.
and then he knew about William Watson since, Watson was in 6th grade and Whipple was the head coach for UMass. So these recruits will follow their coaches. And I think that might be the case for Mickey as well, whether he decides to stay or gets a better offer elsewhere.
Yeah, and I am interested. I am wondering why, there was what happened yesterday. What was going on that caused so many people to think that there was going to be, some sort of announcement, but
Something went on yesterday. I just don't know if the details of what we saw circulating all over Twitter made sense, but I can tell that something went on yesterday because it's very kind of interesting to hear that pop up out of the blue on a Thursday afternoon. I will say that.
yeah, I mean, and it definitely we're getting in that time period. It's November now, and like you said, Thanksgiving's not that far. What are we, like 3 weeks away? And so that's got to be, Trev Alberts literally has probably less than 20 days before this hire is made. I mean, just being 100% honest on this, like it might not be announced till after that, but he literally is on the clock of like 3-4 weeks, and he's got to get this done. So it wouldn't be surprising if there was something where they're kind of releasing funds and stuff like that. But yeah, it's not like the Board of Regents is going to solely approve or disapprove of the hire. I mean, if that's Trev Albert's call, but they still have to approve, the money side of it, and there's some things that they have to, athletic directors can make moves that they want to make, but they still have to let their bosses basically know about it, and get the financial stuff. So I don't know if that was part of it. And there's been a lot of time. Auburn just fired their head coach, which I was wondering what took them so long. I mean, everybody knew that was happening. Like that guy had to be, when you get like you're leaving one job to another and it's coming, either if you're fired or just like you're leaving and you're like, I'm going to put in my last 2 weeks. I'm going to do a great job. Then by like the third day,
You're a
you're just
lame
like,
duck, yeah.
exactly. That's how he was the entire season. It's crazy, but there's been, I think Matt Rule would make a lot of sense for Auburn. I know they were going after Lane Kiffin hard. I mean, I know that's their number one. I don't think they're going to get him. I don't think they're going to get Lane Kiffin. But there was some rumors that, Matt Rule maybe turned them down and that he was going to go to Nebraska now. I don't necessarily see it. I think it's kind of like what you said, Danny. I think he's just going to take the buyout and chill for a bit. And then I feel like, I have no idea. This is totally but I feel like Texas A&M would be a great job for him or some, I mean, he's had
connections
success
in the Texas area. I mean,
yeah. And that job would be a monster, a lot of pressure though. I mean, if you look at poor Jimbo Fisher, but,
I mean, Jimbo's put his foot in his mouth a lot of times though. So he's done himself zero favors, but, what was I going to say? Yeah, no, I mean, my thinking, and this is just my thinking, I don't really know any inside information, but I could see it definitely being a funds meeting. You mentioned, with the 3-week time frame till Thanksgiving and the Iowa game, I could see a funds meeting kind of coming down here and saying, okay, this is how much we have for a new head coach. And then I could see, the athletic department moving quickly to kind of talk to the candidates and assess their funds pool, and then maybe announcing a new staff once that all gets settled. Easy peasy, right? But no, but I could see that happening. I really could, because funds are huge when it comes to this, and that all that can help decide whoever the new head coach is. I mean, funds are a huge part of it.
and another thing too is, that could be a factor in all this is that, I feel like that Mickey is still a quality candidate for Nebraska. And I think that, the Arizona State interest, while I know he's not the number one candidate there, I think that shows like it's not crazy for Nebraska to be considering him. But, consider if they've basically, maybe they've back channeled with Lane Kiffin, and he's essentially given them a no. Maybe they've done the same thing with Dave Aranda, and he said no. So I mean, if you've got a couple of your guys that said no, maybe that is when you start to move to Mickey Joseph. And I don't want to, put that on Mickey in any way, saying he's not, as favorable as those other candidates. But if they're not even interested in the job, maybe Trev looks at Mickey and says, okay, this is the best hire that we're going to make. I feel good about the direction that he's brought this program. So we talked about that too. It could have something to do with some external factors that have nothing to do with the Arizona State thing, but just that, because it is coming into crunch time. And while I don't know that Trev has sat there and talked with Dave Aranda himself, I'm sure that they've met with his representatives, if that's who they're interested in. I feel like whoever their people are, we really don't know. I mean, because Trev has been very, very secretive about that. There's been really no leaks. And, even the guys like Sipple and Callahan, I feel like are guessing because they're changing what they're saying a lot. Like Sipple has been plugging Bill O'Brien, and then, he then said he didn't think that was going to be the guy. So, I mean, I don't feel like they really even know. I feel like Trev has really kept this thing close to the vest. I think part of that is because Mickey does have a legitimate chance at it, and he's trying to keep the distractions away from him, I guess, as much as possible.
Well, also, there's been a couple individuals within the athletic department on Twitter that have kind of been rather loud. So I would also keep my decisions close to the vest if I was Trev Alberts. But anyway, aside from that, the other thing too is, Trev could be saying, say it is Mickey, for example. Okay, you're a second-year head coach. You may not have a firm grasp on what it takes to be a head coach yet, but we are going to give you, a good sum of money or a good amount of money to hire the best assistants possible to help you along. And, because I don't really think Mickey needs too much help, but, this would be his first full year as a head coach, and surrounding a coach with good assistants could be a make or break reason for keeping or getting fired. I mean, just look at Scott Frost. If he replaces Eric Shenander, we may have a whole different ballgame. If he, doesn't hire his friends and went out and got quality assistants, he might still be here. So the assistant pool is just as big a factor as a head coach. And I could see some of that being talked about as well, because, I think we could have a good shot to bring in quality assistants. It's just, again, even more so about style, funds as well.
Yeah, and I think one thing is always about Mickey that, it's always been kind of this assumption, and we shouldn't assume this, but if Mickey gets the job that, Vance Joseph, his brother, would come to run the defense. And if you don't know Vance Joseph, he's been the Denver Broncos head coach, a very successful coordinator. He coordinates the Cardinals defense right now. So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like if Mickey called his brother, it's a little, we said we don't want Scott, to hire Mickey to hire his friends, but I do want him to hire his brother as the defensive coordinator. And I've said that before. I think Nebraska needs an NFL mindset on defense to, make sure they're disguising things. And, because man, if you're playing CJ Stroud and he knows what you're doing, like he's going to eat you alive. And that's been what has gone on at Nebraska, because I just feel like they're not running kind of that NFL pro style scheme. So I would like to see somebody like Vance Joseph. And I feel like that would be also, a strong recruiting tool on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, I know that, he's been fired and Matt Rule's been fired from the NFL, but NFL coaches still matter on the recruiting trail because they can kind of sell like what it takes to get there. And that's really the ultimate goal of every recruit. They want to win, they want to play for championships, but at the end of the day, everybody that's playing this game wants to get to the NFL, and that's something. If you had a Vance Joseph or, just a former NFL coach on your staff, it's not going to hurt your recruiting, I think, in any way. So,
No.
But that is a good point. I think that's one thing that people have always said about Mickey is he can build a good staff. I was thinking about the offensive coordinator that they had. Was it Joe Brady? I'm blanking on the name.
Brady.
I mean, who's to say he couldn't bring him in as the offensive coordinator? I mean, he's kind of bounced around some. I think he's coached some quarterbacks and he's done some different things in the NFL, but, who's to say he can't come to Nebraska and have a really great 2 or 3 years and then get himself a head coaching job, because he definitely was on the path before he followed Matt Rule to the
He
NFL,
did.
didn't he? Yeah.
And
So
that wasn't all his fault. He had Cam Newton, PJ Walker, and Sam Darnold. So I don't think that was all his fault in Carolina.
yeah.
But, you know, some people may knock him because of his success at LSU due to the fact that he had Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow, and they may discount him. But Joe Brady had a quick rise in the coaching ranks. I believe he started at William and Mary. And, since then he's kind of, increased his coaching profile each year. But yeah, to your point, I mean, I think on the Vance Joseph thing, Mickey and Vance, you have two coaches right there who have been able to develop talent and, translate that over into the NFL and have NFL success. So that would be two coaches right off the bat on your staff that brings that kind of element. And, I am not a big fan of nepotism, but with Vance Joseph, I think you could, in theory, make an exception because, Vance Joseph is good at what he does.
Yeah, and I think it's still, I mean, if you think about it, I'm not sure if it would work out because, he's coaching the Cardinals and their seasons go until January. So I mean,
Yeah.
you could go a month or so without a defensive coordinator. I mean, I feel like that you could pull that off recruiting wise and stuff, but we'll see. I don't know if he wants to coaching. That's just been a big assumption, but if not, I have confidence in Mickey's ability to build a staff, but I really don't know. It's interesting. And I still think that these last 4 games are going to, have some type of impact on whether he's hired or not. And we could transition here, but I thought that Mickey's press conference about the Minnesota game was also pretty interesting. And the number one topic I think for everybody has been Casey Thompson. And I said this week if Casey was able to practice by Thursday, I thought he could play. He saw some practice time on Wednesday. I'm assuming I know they don't do as much on Thursday. Or no, wait, they do their pregame on Friday now. So they kind of mixed it up under Scott Frost. So I'll be interested to see, and Mickey's probably not meeting with the media, but if Casey Thompson practiced yesterday, and if he practiced more, and if he can throw the ball, I don't see why he doesn't play in this game. I don't think he is under any threat of like a long-term injury. I think he got hit in the funny bone or something like that really hard. And I know that that's numbness and stuff, but if he can grip the ball, if he can throw the football, put him out there.
They need him. I mean, they need him. We saw on Saturday how much they missed him. But I think, like you said, if he can throw the football, if he can grip the football, if everything feels okay, if his throwing motion feels good, then I don't see any reason to not put him out there. But I'd honestly think about putting Casey Moore in the shotgun at this point. I have no idea why they haven't done it yet. I understand that Mark Whipple likes to go under center, but with this line and to prevent further injury, I would honestly think about the shotgun a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm more worried about. I would like to just see more protection, and having more like max protect. Have less where you've got 5 guys blocking, and do more where you've got 6, 7, sometimes 8 guys blocking. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
max
I mean,
protect a little bit. Yeah, and try to take some shots to Trey Palmer, but it's going to be interesting either way because he said that Chubba Purdy had a good week of practice, and I think that we obviously it would be good fun to see Chubba with a full week of preparation, see how things go. But
was he hurt last week, Chubba? Because I heard
that's what they said. That's what Mickey. Well, he said Whipple said that he missed a couple days of practice,
and then Whipple also said he played hurt. So I don't know what the deal is there. I think he said he played hurt on Tuesday in his Tuesday press conference. He said he played hurt. So I mean that does explain some of it, but even still, it wasn't a good performance out there on Saturday. And I do think a full week of practice would make a difference if it was Purdy. But hopefully it sounds like things are, trending in the right direction for Thompson. So, I mean.
Yeah, and I think one thing that helps too is that Casey, he is a veteran, so he doesn't like if Casey doesn't take all the reps this week, he's still going to be fine to play. Like like Chubba needs those and Logan needs those. But I feel like if Casey can take, they talked about getting mental reps. Well, Casey's okay with the mental reps. Like he knows the playbook, he knows what he's doing. So I feel like with him, it's just a totally physical thing. And as long as he can throw, I mean, as long as he can, I mean, if he has got enough feeling in his hand to grip the football and throw it, which I'm assuming he did in practice Wednesday, I think he should play. I mean, the guy's 24 years old. It's not like he's, going to face any more imminent injury than he's already faced this season. And I just don't see Nebraska winning this game without him, honestly.
And I have questions as to whether they can win this game with him, not because of
Yeah.
him, but just because of the stupid running game of Minnesota's. It seems like we say that every year, but they are a good running football team. And so I think maybe we could kind of turn that over into predictions. I don't really have too many bold ones this week. I mean, I think we're going to have to contend with Mohamed Ibrahim, but I don't. Tanner Morgan doesn't scare me. I don't know about you. He did tear us up last year for some reason. We made him look like the second coming of Tom Brady, but I mean, he still doesn't scare me. And so, I think we could hold Tanner Morgan to, I'm going to say, under 250 yards passing.
Yeah, Tanner Morgan. Yeah, he doesn't scare me as much, especially with Chris Ottman-Bell not playing. Their receivers are really they're not strong. They're not, and I think in like the month of October, because Tanner Morgan, I think, missed one game or maybe missed some time. But and anyway, all of Minnesota's quarterbacks combined, I think, threw one touchdown pass and like 5 interceptions. So, I mean, it's not been – the passing game hasn't been good, but they've still been able to put together some wins because Mo Ibrahim is just an absolute beast. He's had every single game this year, he's had 100 yards. And I think he added quite a few last year. So, I mean, it's going to be really tough. I don't think Nebraska's going to hold him under 100 yards. I don't think that's going to happen. But it's kind of like I said last week with Chase Brown. If they could keep him under like 150, and if they can just stop Mo Ibrahim from, taking over, keep him under 5 yards a carry, and if he gets 30 carries for 120 yards, like that's fine. I'm fine with that. What you can't do is give him 30 carries for like 180 yards or 200 yards. You know what I mean? Like that difference between like 110, 120, and 180 is huge because, the more Mo Ibrahim can get going, the easier it's going to be for Minnesota. So, I do think Nebraska is going to hold him under 150. I'm hoping that they can hold him under 120. I'm not going to say I'm that bold, but I do think that I saw some good things from the run defense last week. I mean, Chase Brown had a good game, but he had to work for his yards. So hopefully they can make the same thing happen with Mo.
Yeah, and Chase Brown didn't even really start to get going until the third quarter, and like you said, Chase Brown is going to get his yards. He's a very good running back, and so if Nebraska can at least hold for the first half, I think that would definitely be a positive sign because like Chase Brown, Mo Ibrahim is going to get his. I mean, those are two very good running backs, and so I was pleased with the run defense. I know the box score may look a little messy, but I was pleased with what I saw from the run defense on Saturday. And then I'm trying to think of an offensive bold prediction.
Well, mine is just that Trey Palmer is not going to get one catch for 1 yard. I'll say that whether it's Purdy or Thompson. Yeah. I think Trey makes a big play this week. And, going back to Illinois just really, really quick, I think we underestimated their passing game a little bit. I mean, their receivers are pretty good. Minnesota does not have the same receivers that Illinois does. Also doesn't have the offensive line that Illinois does. So if Nebraska can kind of, if they can put Tanner Morgan in a lot of the same situations that they put Tommy DeVito, those third and longs, because they had them in a few, they just couldn't get off the damn field. I think they'll have a better chance this week, but I don't know, man. I just have totally lost faith in the pass rush. So
it's not there.
Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, but it's not consistent either way. But
and I will say, good.
I was just gonna say that would be my offensive prediction is that Trey gets a big play, and on defense, I'm gonna say they get at least one interception. I think they're gonna pick off Tanner Morgan at least one time.
I'm gonna say that Trey Palmer was mine as well. I'm gonna say he gets at least 50 yards, and the reason why I have it so low is just again because of the offensive line
and quarterback
and quarterback, yeah, but. The thing, and you mentioned, Trey Palmer last week, the Illinois secondary was as good as advertised. If you looked at some of the highlights, they barely gave him any room to move. And, even when they did give him room to move, the Illinois front seven, did a nice job of getting to the quarterback. So, that's you've probably heard me talk about those two positions playing in tandem for a team. When you got a good pass rush and you have a good secondary, those two feed off each other and create problems for both the quarterback and receiver. And I thought the Illinois secondary did a great job of covering Trey Palmer, and we kind of highlighted it last week that the secondary is one of Illinois' biggest strengths, in my opinion, and that's not a knock on them. They're just that good.
Yeah, and then they definitely, they took Trey Palmer out of the game in a way I didn't think was possible. So I mean, we'll see if they do it
understood their
again.
assignments for
Yeah.
sure.
It will be interesting. Brock Bando's coming back, so I'm guessing that he's going to start at right guard. Omar Manning is going to be back too, they said, or available.
I'll believe it when I see it.
We'll see. When we're into that, not with Omar Manning, I guess it doesn't matter as much, but we're into that stretch of year where if guys have only played 1 or 2 games, they could still get up to that number 4 and not have it count as a redshirt year. So we'll see. Omar Manning, I think, has already played in a few games, so I don't think that's a consideration for him. But
maybe some Emmett Johnson, the running back, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I feel maybe more on special teams, but yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing some Emmett Johnson. I mean, Ramir Johnson, guy, you finally get an opportunity, and then you have a chance for like a 40-yard gain, and you drop the damn ball. Like, come on,
and then that kind of like the light off went in my head. Maybe that's what the coaches are seeing in practice. Maybe that's why he's not playing a ton.
It's like, man,
he was wide open too.
And then he's at the
sideline.
Illinois territory. He's at least in Illinois territory, and then 2 plays later, the whole game's over, basically. Like,
I know, and that drop, not to put it all on Ramir, but that's exactly what I'm going to do. That drop kind of changed the whole momentum of the game, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
If he scored, it would have been a momentum shift for Nebraska, and they probably would have been a different story on Saturday. I don't know. I mean,
well, we already had the leads. I mean, we're up 9-6 with the ball, and so I mean, they had a chance to go up 10. And man, if you get up 10, that place would have been freaking rocking Memorial Stadium.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, football games can change on a play or two, and that game definitely changed when Ramir dropped that ball. And obviously, Casey's interception was a big factor too. But if Ramir doesn't drop that ball, then I hate saying what if, but that really is I've been thinking about that play since it happened. So. At any rate, yeah, maybe Emmett Johnson would have caught that thing and made a play. I don't know. But I guess my prediction, before we make our score prediction, I'm going to predict that I think Casey Thompson's going to play. I really do. I could totally be wrong. I have no inside information on that whatsoever, but I feel like if he's pushing for it, if he can throw, I mean, I just don't see why he wouldn't play.
We laugh so we don't cry, folks. Isn't that how the saying goes? We laugh so we don't cry. But yeah, no, I could definitely see that. I mean, I could also see them kind of keeping the starting quarterback a secret to maybe confuse Minnesota.
Yeah.
But because as much as we think that they will make a bowl game or whatever, and this is going to be a tough upcoming schedule, there still is a lot to play for in theory. So, I mean, I could see this kind of being a strategy move on the part of Nebraska as well.
Yeah, I mean, it really for Nebraska, it's a must-win game. I mean, you've got to win 3 of these, and Michigan's coming up, I think next week, and that's going to be a battle. That's going to be a really tough game. So, I mean, this is really a must-win game if they want to get to the postseason, and it might be, a turning point too for Mickey Joseph. Like if they can win this game, because I feel like. I've said this before, but beating Rutgers and Indiana, like Scott Frost could have done that. He did do that. If you beat Minnesota and you beat Wisconsin and you beat Iowa, I mean that would be a legitimate sign of progress with a team that frankly isn't that good, that doesn't have that much talent. And so it's like if you get this, it's like I said this when he got hired though. If he could get this team to a bowl game, that'd kind of be a miracle, and he definitely should be the head coach. But even if he gets close, I feel like he's going to have a good shot. If they go into that last game like 5-6, I feel like Mickey's going to be the head coach.
Do we have a time for the Michigan game yet? Not to look too far ahead, but it's still
I don't think
TBD.
they've announced it yet.
That's annoying. Okay. But yeah, no, I think the big
guess is I'm trying to think. I don't know if there's any other big games next week, but I'm guessing that just with it being Nebraska and Michigan, they'll probably try to make it a big noon kickoff, and
Okay,
because you know a crap ton of people are going to watch this game, just literally out of just like if you take out just all the exterior fans and just have Michigan and Nebraska. I
yeah,
mean, they're two of the most
well-known programs.
biggest and most passionate fan bases. So I feel like Fox is definitely going to take that game, but we'll see.
I'm just tired of the night games. I mean, by the time it gets over, it's like midnight my time, and I'm just so over these night games. Only for a loss. I mean, I don't know. Not that
Well,
they'll lose, but that's what happens about 90% of the time.
at least we got the noon kickoff on Saturday, so that'll be good.
And
11 Central Time.
and at least we have basketball starting against Maine on Monday. So
Yeah, it's fun time of year. Volleyball's keeps rolling, although Wisconsin beat us again. That sucked, but
I got to get more into volleyball because basketball and football are just not doing it for me right now.
yeah, volleyball were actually pretty good, except they have a hard time against Wisconsin. John Cook's going to get on the. I'm just kidding. He's not going to be on the hot seat, but he is getting a little heat because I think he's lost like 8 matches in a row. I don't know what it is, but Wisconsin kind of has our number on the volleyball court. Not that I'm an expert at all,
Isn't it
but
so weird? You have like one portion of the program in volleyball that's like the model of consistency. John Cook is a coaching legend. And then you have like basketball and football that are absolute, dumpster fires and, can't get out of their own way. It's kind of interesting to see the parallels of the program. It just goes to show that you don't mess with some aspects of the program, even if you are a new athletic director hire like Trev Alberts was a couple of years ago. So.
yeah, it's just you have to get the head coach right, and Nebraska just. I mean they've ever since they fired Bo Pelini, it's just been a total train wreck, and hopefully they will finally get it figured out. I'm wondering if it'll be Mickey Joseph, but I don't think anybody knows anything right now. I mean, there was like probably 5 accounts yesterday that were tweeting that Mickey was going to be hired next, and I don't think
Yeah.
anybody knows anything. I don't think anything is set in stone at this point.
And not for nothing, but the jury is still out on Will Bolt as well. So we'll see about that. But yeah, no, I'm not going to believe anything until after the Iowa game. I mean, I don't really see, because this could be a big 4-game stretch, as we alluded to, especially if they win. It would make the decision a lot easier for Trev Alberts, but I don't think we'll see anything definitive until after the Iowa game, or maybe a couple days before, if they want to get a new coaching regime in place.
So we'll wrap things up here, and let's offer up our final predictions. I haven't rechecked the spread, but I feel like it's still about 15 points for Minnesota. That's what it was the last time I looked. Probably hasn't changed a whole lot with Casey Thompson's status still up in the air, but considering the spread and everything else, Danny, what's your prediction for Saturday, for tomorrow morning?
31-17 Minnesota.
31-17. I'm gonna be pretty close. The number that pops into my head, 28-17. 17 seems like a decent number for the Huskers.
I feel like we've had 17 for a lot of our predictions this year.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a lucky number or an unlucky number in this case.
Number. Yeah, we'll see. Minnesota's defense is really good. They don't have a great pass rush. I mean, that's one interesting thing is they actually have fewer sacks than Nebraska does.
Our line will make them look good, not to worry.
Probably. That's what. But if there's one good matchup on the schedule for our offensive line in terms of the pass rush, this is it. So come on, boys.
They got to get ready for Michigan.
Eat that jerky and get ready. Yeah. Maybe Michigan will play the second team that week.
I hope so. I mean, I hate to dog on the offensive line too much, but I mean, Casey Thompson's hurting right now.
Yeah, the whole team is. And, it was interesting, though. I mean, Anthony Grant got some stuff going last week, so I hope that they will build on that. And
but when they get stuff going, like they don't go back to it. That's
I
the
know.
thing.
Makes no sense.
I don't know.
And Mickey, it's funny because Mickey talks about I really don't think if Mickey's the coach that Whipple's going to be back, though. No way.
I don't think Whipple's going to be back in any capacity next year.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like hell stuff, but Mickey is constantly talking about like shortening the game and running the clock. Like he talks about almost every week, and it never happens because Whipple just cannot do it. I'm starting to think that Pat Narduzzi was a little bit right about Mark Whipple.
I think he was a little bit right, and I remember back in December, I was excited about the hire, and then the Pittsburgh fans were in my mentions saying, he doesn't run the football. Like, you may regret this. And, well, I don't regret Mark Whipple because we're 1 year removed away from Matt Lubick as the offensive coordinator. They
Yeah.
were right about not running the ball.
Yeah, for sure. Because I don't see him giving the ball to Anthony Grant like 32 times like Illinois has done with Chase Brown. He just doesn't stick to it.
That's what you need to do in the Big Ten.
Yeah, and Anthony Grant, he had like 5 yards of carry last week. I mean, he did leave some yardage out there for sure, but I think he also
the ball more than our quarterback.
Well, that's what to me. Nothing. The running game was where I think they made a mistake going to Chuba, but we'll see. That's can't cry about spilt milk now, but
I mean, I can understand it because Chuba was Whipple's guy.
Yeah, you're right. Play some power football. We'll see what happens tomorrow, though. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that Casey's healthy, or not healthy, but can at least play. And I think that'll give Nebraska, a fighting chance. If Chuba's playing, I think Nebraska's losing by 3 scores. That's how I feel it's going to go. But
if Logan's playing, I think Nebraska's losing. I'm trying not to make this a Chuba hate fest, but
no, either quarterback.
Yeah,
and I do think Chuba's going to play better. I was a little harsh on him Monday. And he does deserve some more opportunities, but at the same time, like if he wants to be a starter ever here at Nebraska, if he's starting in this game, like he needs to look at it like this is my chance, because if you don't play well in this one, you're not going to get another opportunity. I mean, that's really the way it is.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, we will have some more reactions coming up after the Nebraska-Minnesota game. We'll also be keeping you up to date on any of the new coaching rumors. It's going to be a wild ride here for the next few weeks, so buckle up.
I can't wait.
Yeah, and don't go with everything that happens on Twitter. Just use your head, fact check, and when Nebraska hires a head coach, everybody's going to know. So don't worry about it's not going to be a big secret. So all right, well, check out the Huskers tomorrow, and as always, make sure that you are liking this video, commenting, and subscribing to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'll have pre and post game coverage at huskerbigred.com.
Mm-hmm.
I know Danny's going to have the same at thegreatcornholio.org. So check us out, and as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.